Entrepreneurship, Joey Concepcion, and we also have Philippine Chamber of Commerce and Industry, or PCCI President George Barcelon. Thank you for coming to Hot Copy. Joey, George, I appreciate it. How would you describe the President's visit to China?
Good morning, Mayor. Overall, the visit has been very successful.
Okay.
Both, of course, the government officials were warmly received, as well as the businessman. We met our counterpart, and they have been very forthright in welcoming us, and sort of letting us know that they want a renewed relationship. So, based on that, and plus the fact that the amount of MOUs that have been signed, the 6 million soft loans and the $6 billion and the $3 billion on credit. So all of that, those big numbers will really push us a long way in our development.
Now, Joey, this is not the first time that you're a presidential advisor for entrepreneurship. You've also been active in other administrations. Would you consider this a big achievement? I mean, you've seen other presidents visit China in the past.
Well, as we all know, the China issue has been a very contentious issue. With what has happened by them building an airstrip and out there in the south, it was very contentious in the sense that the Americans and Filipinos then were trying to rethink on the strategy. And I felt this visit of the President adopted a different strategy.
Okay, what was the strategy?
Which is basically to do it the Filipino way. In the end, when you have an issue such as this, and though our American partners, our relationship has gone a long way, maybe the approach should be different because the Chinese will not take it in that manner. And President Duterte, what he meant by changing policy was to allow, the countries, the superpowers, to allow the Filipinos to find the right solution. We definitely can afford a war. Nobody can afford a war over a piece of land out there. Whether we won the case or not, the most important is we have a win-win solution. And the first step in that is rebuilding the relationship.
Now, when you said that President Duterte adopted a Filipino strategy, I find that quite interesting. What made you say it was specifically a Filipino strategy?
Well, when you want to make peace, you don't...
Ang mga Pinoy ito, ang mga Pinoy. Yan yung strategy.
Philippines is very friendly. You don't take a big, rest back with you and try to say you want to improve relationship when,
Ang rest back natin would have been the US.
The US. So, what will the Chinese say? They'll say, are you really serious in building a relationship with us? So I guess this strategy, we'll see how it will play. I think it's the right approach. I think the Chinese really welcome the President this time, and there is a lot of goodwill that is built here. And I think the rebuilding of trust is very important on both sides. And that trust starts with, changing the ways we do things. I'm not saying that the Americans were not...
You have some key phrases on changing the way we do things, okay?
Well, because what will it get if the Americans continue to do joint military exercises in the areas of where this problem is? It just further escalates and irritates the parties involved, which in the end is just China and the Philippines.
So you agree with that, his suspension of joint military exercises in the South China Sea?
Well, if it will lead to peace and greater cooperation and mutual trust between China and the Philippines, yes. If we get bombed, let's say the worst thing happens and war happens, the American side with us, who's going to get hurt? We're going to get hurt because that's pretty close to Luzon. Every Filipino will pack up their bags and go somewhere else now. So we really have to find a practical solution to this.
Okay, before we get to the details of what businesses exactly and investments President Duterte took home, let's just, I want to ask you your thoughts. You were there. Did you guys flip over your seats when you heard Duterte say, we are separating from the US? Honestly speaking, did that catch you off guard? He came home and explained it.
Well, when we were there, it did.
Okay, okay,
We
George.
have to be very honest
Yes,
about
of
it.
course.
Because we didn't know where that came from.
Yeah.
But at the back of my head, I started thinking that in the previous month, he has made a statement that sort of distance ourselves regarding foreign policy of the
Okay.
US. And the president in his speech stressed that we Filipinos now has to be more assertive, okay, knowing where we stand and what is right and what is wrong. Of course, he mentioned the Middle East war and everything, that the end game it's not a win-win, it's a loss-loss to everybody. So that he wouldn't want the Philippines to be involved in such a war. So being assertive, I think, is a new,
Assertive is one thing,
yes.
but I mean, people were wondering, did he have to really slam the US in that way during a state visit?
When he said separation, I think in his mind is really about foreign policy. It's just that we are smart enough to think for ourselves.
Yeah. Was it necessary, Joey, do you think China wouldn't have welcomed the president this warmly and even the businessmen if Duterte did not take that aggressive stand? In other words, if he came in very neutral, I want to rebuild ties, didn't take that stand, do you feel it would have been as effective?
It's very hard to say, but I think the president, first of all, he likes not to really speech. He was extemporating. So, and sometimes he is at his best when he is extemporating. It becomes more exciting.
Yeah. Or at his worst, sometimes I'm kidding. I'm just curious. Go on.
But the president is well intent.
Yeah.
What he doesn't want to alienate the Americans. I think maybe out of his enthusiasm to try to really mend the relationship with China, he said some things that were maybe a little bit stronger than it should be, but that was not the intention. I think he really means well. He wants to continue our relationship with America, but not follow what America wants us to do. That's what he's trying to say. America is still the biggest trading partner. I mean, all the BPOs, and a lot of Filipinos live in America. And just one in his statement that he made the other day, that Filipinos would kill him if we totally divorced from America. So that's not going to happen, and I don't think that's in his mind. He's a smart guy. So, but what he's trying to really do is drive a point and drive the relationship angle that if we don't fix the relationship with China and we don't trust each other, how can we get the Americans to mend that relationship? They can't mend that relationship for us. It is the Filipinos and the Chinese that can mend that relationship.
That's a very good point. I like that point. Now, can you explain this? How important is it that our relationship with China is mended?
Well, if you look at it, you will have not only military peace, but you'll have greater prosperity for all. That's the way I see it. The Chinese will come here in the thousands. There are just so many Chinese.
There are more than 1 billion.
Yeah.
That's one.
So how many percent will come here?
So number one, I think one of the achievements, we should name them now one by one as we expound. The travel advisory against the Philippines has been lifted. So that's one.
Tourism will really grow.
So you now have the president, Chinese president, encouraging his own people come to the Philippines. Because just for the record, it is not the Chinese who are our number one tourists in Asia, it is the Koreans. Yeah, so that's number one. Okay, number two, exports apparently have been reopened. Am I correct, George? Can you detail that?
Well, the exports on especially on the fruits, the banana export, the pineapple. And this has been ever since the talk started.
Yeah.
They've been obliging us. Because before, ang complaint ng mga exporters is the non-tariff barrier.
Oo.
They're very strict about it.
Hirap ang exporter talaga
Yes,
doon.
yes, yes. The other issue that I think that we will get results in this talk is that we should be given the same conditions as Vietnam and Thailand.
Okay, what are those conditions? Can you just bring
They are more, from what I got from
sure.
agriculture, they have less restriction on exports. China used to buy, as far as banana is concerned, not a very first class, no? but they
Yeah.
But so they were very strict on that. But now I think that's open.
Yes.
Agricultural products that
Yeah.
I've heard from my friends.
Actually, the China has given permits back to 27 Philippine companies that export tropical fruits. So is it fair to say that in a way they'll be able to do business again?
Yes, I believe so.
Okay.
So that's a positive sign.
Okay, all right. Now, what about Chinese business coming into the Philippines?
Well, to add to what George was
Go ahead
saying,
first.
agriculture would be a big beneficiary. The
Oh.
Chinese are very good at that. And, we import more than we export to them. And I think when you have investors, there are a lot of Filipino Chinese in this country,
Yes.
but big businesses controlled by Filipino Chinese. And so the synergy is there. So if you have the relationship improving, there'll be more partnerships that will happen. For example, in the case of Concepcion, he's doubling out the number of rooms that he's building because of his opportunity. So
For tourism, okay.
And I heard Mr. Zesto is also putting
Yes.
up
He's very big.
about that
Yeah.
in joint venture with the Chinese. No?
Yeah.
So infrastructure, railways, all of that will come. It's going to really be exciting. No? If you really maintain everything, how can you have a business relationship when you are not, there is no trust between both parties?
Mhm.
And it has to start with both parties. The government must trust each other. That filters down to the entrepreneurs. Many micro and small entrepreneurs will definitely benefit from this because if tourism booms, the whole attachment on tourism, that caters to a lot of micro and small entrepreneurs. So this is what we want to see, a great relationship with China.
And I think even Tessie Coson was quoted, I think in one of your events, she was a speaker, and she was quoted, she was ambushed and by a reporter, and she said, having a good relationship with China is good for all of us. So I think do you feel Filipinos are really not appreciating this enough because we are so, we have an American mindset, frankly.
Yeah, that's George.
We need to, I think, we need
I mean-
to, also China also, we need to develop the people to people.
I like that. Okay, develop people to people. That's true. Oo. Kasi mga Pilipino, mas kilala nila ang mga Amerikano at ang mga Espanyol. Yun ang sabi, Okay, go ahead.
The fact that Chinese are the biggest tourists in the world
Yeah.
nowadays. Just to put it in the right perspective, we have about 500,000
Yeah.
visitors from China. Thailand has 9 million visitors from China.
Wow.
Look at this disparity.
Yeah.
That alone, what we were talking earlier, Joey was saying, that alone can give us a big boost.
Yeah.
The trickle-down effect.
Yeah.
You see?
Yeah.
And the more of them coming in, the more of we understanding them.
Yeah.
Okay. Sometimes, they're a bit loud sometimes, because they don't speak the language.
Yes.
Okay. And I would
There's a misunderstanding.
there's a misunderstanding.
Yeah.
There's a misunderstanding. And here we can see that it boils down to getting to know each other culturally and the likes. As a matter of fact, in one of my meetings with some of the officials, I said, even through sports,
Yeah.
China is very good in sports. They have so many gold medals in the Olympics. I said maybe that's one way of also strengthening our relationship. They can help us along that line. And it's a non-political issue. Sports, P2P. So that's where I would think that down the line we can develop further.
So do you believe that while it may not be the method that many people accept, there is a stroke of genius, really, in what President Duterte is doing? Because I think we have to be honest that in the last 6 years, our relationship with China has suffered even more. You had an administration that was essentially because of filing the case at The Hague, and it took some time before we even had an ambassador to China. Do you remember that? So you're talking about intentionally or non-intentionally, it suffered.
Yes.
So do you think that in a way it's almost very quick how Duterte is doing it?
Yeah, well,
It's swift. He's not even doing it
let's
slowly.
put it this way, the president has a different style of management. And that's what I call gut feel.
Okay.
If you look at his approach to solving the drug problem, you know, normally some leaders will go through a lot of surveys and all this stuff.
Yes.
I mean, this guy understands it. He has the gut feel for it. And I think running Davila for 20 years, he has a better feel on how things should be approached. And to him, relationship is so important.
Okay.
But having said that, I don't think that we should alienate America. America, we owe a lot as well. I mean, they saved us during the Japanese War. There are many things that America has done. I mean, you can see all the franchising concepts that have come to the Philippines that has improved entrepreneurship is there. The BPO is dominated by the Americans. They've outsourced their jobs at the expense of the Americans there.
It's a good balance.
There are a lot of Filipino Americans now living in America, and they're growing and they're remitting so much money to this country to help their families. So you really can't set aside America. America is a long-time partner. But
And our only mutual defense treaty ally.
that's right.
Oh.
But in the end, we're just hoping that America allows us to grow up. And we're already a big boy, we're investment grade, and we should be able to make our own judgments on certain issues such as the China case.
Okay, the president says, Malacanang says, they've taken on roughly $24 billion worth of investments. That's 1.6 trillion pesos. It would have to be the largest number of any state visit in recent history. But the question, George, is, are these binding? Some of them are memorandum of agreements that may not be binding. Some are just pledges. I mean, we're seeing these figures. What would you say is a go? For example, I'll start with one. There's an MOU between Columbus Capitana and China Camse Engineering projects on renewable energy, infra, and real estate. $100 million. When you see this in the papers, as a regular Filipino, will I say, that's a done deal?
Yes, I just mentioned a couple of the MOUs. But for me, out of the 15 billion,
Okay.
11
It says 24 billion.
Right.
Okay.
24 billion means we have 6 billion in soft loan and 3 billion credit.
So that's counted as
Yes,
a
it's
part of the
counted as part of
24.
24.
So it's 24 billion minus the
Right.
6 and the 3.
3.
Okay.
So we're left with 15 billion. And a big part of the 15 billion is the infrastructure.
Okay.
I can give you a list of this.
Okay, can we discuss? Just let's run through it. Okay.
Subic Clark Railway Project.
Yeah, that's Subic to Clark. It's the fastest actually the Chinese can do because the distance is
Yes.
quite close.
Right.
But what's the timetable for that?
Well, I don't know the detail of that. Okay, but the mere fact that this is on the table right now,
Okay.
and there's the financing to this. The second one is the BGC NAIA segment, Metro Manila Bus Rapid Transit, regarding trying to help us in the traffic congestion. Third is the BCDA China Fortune Real Estate Project. Well, that
Okay.
for us is not a priority, I think. Smart and safe and smart city projects together with Huawei. We've been complaining about the Wi-Fi.
Okay.
So that's good.
Yes.
The other one is transportation, logistics.
That Huawei is a partnership with Globe.
Yes, it's a partnership with Globe. Again, Globe Telecom projects to improve network quality.
Okay. Yeah.
Joint development of projects, renewable energies. Okay.
And I read here that I think MVP himself closed 2 projects.
Yes.
Yes.
On the railway.
Yes, yeah.
He was represented by, I think, Beijing Zone.
Okay, all right. Now, my question is, do you trust the Chinese? And the reason I'm asking is, China had also invested in a high-speed railway project in Indonesia.
Yes.
And it was suspended.
Yes.
Over incomplete paperwork, permits, issues, etc. Essentially coming from the Chinese end. So, do you think China has enough credibility that when they say this is going to push through, it will? Because you have the Indonesia problem that's happening right now.
Well, maybe Karen, we have to take this case to case.
Okay.
But the fact is, they also publish it in their paper about some of these projects.
Okay.
And I would think for a country like China, once they promise, in any projects, there are bound to be some ups and downs.
Yeah, yeah.
But the key projects on the infrastructure, I think they'll see to it because that's the biggest impact for them
Yeah.
to really help the Filipino realize that you're helping us.
Yes, yes. But Julie, do you agree? I think Professor Richard Adarian said this in our interview last week. China also has a lot to prove because their foreign policy in Southeast Asia are all failures essentially. I mean, there's no major success. I mean, they have a problem with South Korea as well. You have this Indonesia issue. You have other countries that are claimant countries, also with the South China Sea dispute. So is it to our edge that in a way they also need to prove something?
Well, let's say it's very hard to predict what is going to happen. What's important here is the partnership with the Filipino counterparts in Manila. I think will increase the chances of success. Now, these are very important infrastructure projects. I think the Chinese realize that. And we're coming from a relationship angle that we have to fix. Now. So they're not going to screw up and, start all of these things in the wrong way.
So that's a good thing too. That they're pressured not to screw things up.
Yeah, look at their I mean, they have the best highways, their infrastructure is superb, their airport is great. I mean, they've done it, so they can just implement it here. Selecting the right partner is critical. A partner that is reliable. And if you look at a couple of relationships here already, they're still doing pretty well.
Now, as businessmen that went to the state visit, how difficult was it? I mean, in recent history, Chinese investments in the Philippines, at least with the government, you're talking about MBNZTE, North Railway System, that's also with a Chinese counterpart, and that was more than that it didn't push through. It was wrapped in controversy and anomalies. And do you feel that affected somehow when you were there? Did you sense that?
Well, I think this time we're starting, with a positive tone.
Okay.
So, to be honest, it didn't even enter my mind.
Okay, so it's a positive tone completely. All right, we'll continue our discussion on coffee. We'll be right back. Please stay with us. From the state visit, or fresh from President Duterte's state visit, we still have with us Presidential Advisor for Entrepreneurship, Julie Concepcion, and PCCI President George Barcelon. Now, what was the President's mood? Can you share, some behind the scenes of conversations you've had with the President?
In the short moment that I was close to the President, I saw that his demeanor was very enlightened. Okay. And as I said, there were so many people, it was noise and everything. But he was smiling, he was looking at the crowd.
The Filipino crowd.
The Filipino crowd. The rest of the session. I can see that the schedule is very tight for him. And I just would like to share with you, if we're complaining about traffic,
It's worse.
Even worse. It's worse, actually.
Except the thing is, you can choose kasi to take a high-speed train.
No, but you're not going to a restaurant that's only 3 kilometers. It'll take you 1 hour and 30 minutes.
It's around the city.
So you walk.
No, we took.
All right, okay, let's talk about that. So Duterte was very happy.
Yes, he was happy with it. And of course, they also, during the state dinner, the Chinese government tried to did their best in catering to the interest of the president.
Really?
One of the guests that they invited was the basketball player, Yao Ming.
Yeah, I saw photos. He was
serious.
He was told, I mean, beyond my imagination.
Yes, but by the mere fact that, of course,
they asked him to come.
I think his presence there was he was invited to come.
Basketball, so they
basketball.
So you're sensing, Joey, that maybe Filipinos are seeing that China really pulled out the red carpet for President Duterte. They really like him.
Yes. They really impressed the Filipinos. First of all, this is the largest Filipino contingent in history. 507 businessmen went on a state visit. Nowhere in time memorial that ever happened.
And I wanted to ask you, how does that happen? Does a businessman have to be accredited? Do you have to choose them?
This time you are very liberal. You just apply, you state your business, and then DTI will screen it, and if you're accepted. So it was very,
It was encouraging.
That's very good. It was an inclusive state visit. It was not an exclusive, it was inclusive state visit.
Other state visits that you've seen.
You are selected.
Yes, yes.
Here you state you want to go, and 90% let's say you pay your way, your hotel, and all of that. And you imagine, DTI did a fairly good job managing 508 people, giving out, and the Chinese are very strict with their security. Another aspect I wanted to point out to the president, during the picture taking, he was so patient to take photos with all 600 Filipinos there. It took us about 30 to 40 minutes.
Yeah.
And I noticed that his son, Paulo,
is there?
his
Okay.
son-in-law, also patiently waited in line. When they went to see the president, their father and father-in-law, they made mano to him. So today that was wow. It was really, you can see that they have a really simple family. They have a lot of respect for the parents, and they come out like ordinary people. No fanfare, nothing.
And you've been with other presidents, both of you, in other trips. Is it fair to say that, of course, although the president will travel in his own plane, he'll be traveling first class, he seems pretty simple across the board.
He's extremely simple.
Yeah, I was going to
He's
say,
extremely simple.
President Duterte is extremely simple, huh?
I would describe him as he's the people's choice.
Okay.
People's president.
So I like what you said, that for me what was telling first is other state visits are usually exclusive. You are chosen. I mean, this is very radical that it's inclusive, no? Oh, for me, okay, go on, you're saying it's the people's choice.
Yeah, people's choice. And when he met with the Filipino community, again, he's like a rock star.
Yeah, yeah.
Everybody, Joey was there.
Apparently all over ASEAN, I have heard.
Yes.
Yeah, from Vietnam to Indonesia. Yeah.
Even after his speech when he was about to leave, I think it took him about more than 30 minutes. Because people were just crowding all over, taking selfies, how Filipinos are. But you can see all the warmth that people are showing to him.
Yes.
So for me, that has been one of the stronger image of the president, that he's loved.
But it's quite interesting, and both of you can weigh in, considering both of you have past experiences. It's the ASEAN leaders themselves. They seem to welcome him with such warmth. And I wanted to ask you is, if you believe because he's able to say what they can't say.
That's right. I
Do
mean,
you believe that?
I won't, it's a
Yeah, you're not gonna butter it up. You believe that?
that's they say it, no? I mean, they're happy that the president stood up for what he believes in.
Yeah.
To the extent that, in other words, we want to grow up.
Okay.
We're telling America, please allow us to grow up, and I think we can stand now on our 2 feet. But that meaning to say that, okay, I'm pushing out and divorcing, and I don't want to talk to you, that's not the intention.
Okay.
Maybe in the mannerism that happens to be, it seems that way, but it is never his intention to do it that way.
You think it's a flair for drama? I mean, to stress a point. Some say that if he doesn't go that way, his point won't be stressed.
Well, let's put it this way. I don't think the Philippines will be talked about around the world if he didn't do it this way. Even Donald Trump is using his line. It's instant. The Philippines is now on the map. Duterte is now on
You have CNN International having analysts on what will it mean to the U.S.
So we're taking
with this separation.
So we're taking a little bit more seriously. But I think maybe take that aside. I think he just wants to drive the point and saying, please allow us to do it our way this time.
Okay.
It might work.
All right, and you've been up close to President Duterte. And it's quite, interesting how he doesn't really seem to care about consequences of what he says, and he's fearless. Many leaders could be courageous and brave, but before they say something, they would have to measure it, what are the effects and consequences to them. It seems to me he's a guy wherein, I'm 90% today, but if I lose it tomorrow, it doesn't really matter to me. I'm going to do what I think is right. Where is that coming from?
Well, he's just being himself.
Yeah,
In the sense that,
where is that coming from?
in the sense that, he has a vision of what is right and what is wrong, and he's holding on to that. With that, his standard of what is right and what is wrong.
Okay.
He will say what he feels
Okay.
That's true. And if you look at it, the president always talks about his destiny. This is his destiny. And he was the underdog he won. In the case
He couldn't believe in himself, so he might as well.
we all believe that there is a God and that and he was the chosen leader. And even you got myself as an advisor and Juan Lopez today as the secretary. These are all destinies. So if you look at the Bible, he's the Moses. And Moses is saying, okay, Jesus tells him, okay, cross the ocean.
God tells him.
Oh, God tells him.
Yeah.
Okay, God tells
So
him.
wait, are you comparing the death to Moses? No, you're going to go to that tomorrow.
I'm just saying that
You're George.
let's look at it as Moses. Okay, so you must be crazy to cross the
Okay.
sea, no?
You're not saying he's like Moses. You're just...
Yeah, but so we're now crossing that sea that opens up and believing that it's not going to fall on us now.
Okay.
So hopefully it doesn't fall on us.
Okay.
So if that's his destiny, then we all have to follow him.
Okay, all right, wait, before we go, we have 5 minutes to go. No, I find it quite interesting because you have this new wave of, I mean, Martin Andanar comparing himself at one point to one of the apostles. So I was thinking, are you moving that way?
I believe in destiny.
Yes, I do too.
I mean, he's there for a reason.
Okay.
We are all here for a reason.
That's fair, that's fair. Okay, very quickly before we go, do you think it's an achievement or a bit you wish he had come back and announced, okay, China told me they are allowing, they will no longer stop Filipino fishermen from fishing in Scarborough Shoal. Some people said he came back and he didn't have that.
I think it will happen.
Okay.
It's just a matter of time. We can push it, but the way I see it, Filipino fishermen will be allowed to fish there.
But you feel it was too soon to expect.
Yeah, I agree. But you know what he said was, it's up to them. But I think in the meeting with President Xi Jinping, it's made clear to him. Maybe on the Chinese side, there's a process that they have to go through.
Yeah.
Maybe
So
they'll be
clearly, what is clear, he
yes.
discussed this with
Yes,
Xi
definitely,
Jinping.
yes.
Because earlier, Malacanang kept saying, it won't be taken up, it won't be taken up. But Duterte himself said, in my discussions. So he did.
He did.
He did. So that's one. Number 2, there are 4 MOUs on infrastructure in former military bases. What's your reaction to that?
I mean, if those infrastructure are needed.
It would have to be American military because
Yeah.
there's the only ones we have here.
Yeah.
And you have Chinese building on them.
Well, depending on what infrastructure they're
Okay.
building. But you know, if it's infrastructure, good roads, good, facilities, I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
Okay.
It's not anything related to military.
Okay. Now, you are president of that. There have been several references to, before we go, I mean, that he idolizes Putin. Does this worry you as a business person?
Well, honestly, to some extent, yes. I'll have to be frank. We don't really know Russia that well. Is it his way of driving point? I don't know. But let's look at it this way. Let's see what happens and how serious is this going to be.
Yeah.
But to me, a lot of things are still, in store for us. Good things. I think the president means very well. I think he wants to see this country prosper, and he's not going to do anything to destroy this country.
And tomorrow, both of you join President Duterte again for Japan. Okay, now it's quite interesting that his first trips, of course, his first state visit was China, but he's visiting the ASEAN countries first.
Yes, because next
He's
year
making the rounds.
we are hosting the ASEAN here in the Philippines, and he's the chairman of the ASEAN. And I'm the chairman of the private sector.
Yeah.
So it'll be the 50th year of ASEAN. So he has to do that. That's part of the process.
What do you expect to achieve in Japan? What is the program?
Well,
What is
there's
the agenda?
going to be a business conference.
Okay.
They're still finalizing the details. There's going to be the Filipino community.
Right.
Of course.
And I'm told there will be state dinner this
Okay.
time. So basically that, I hope that it is going to be a great business meeting because 200 Filipinos, I'm told, businessmen are going to attend. It's a big number again, and about 200 from the Japanese side. So there will be a lot of interaction and business discussion. So I think it's going to be great. I don't think the president is going to speak together with Prime Minister Abe.
Okay, last few words, I think on the China visit, I mean, clearly the word separation from the US has gotten more, frankly speaking, media mileage, more headlines, not just locally, but even internationally. And I think what's been achieved in China has taken like a second, it's like a second lead to the separation, a soundbite that came from the president himself.
But the president reacted, realizing that the misinterpretation, the minute he stepped on our land,
He clarified.
he clarified it, and I think that issue is a non-issue now.
So it's a non-issue now. What would you want people to focus on when it comes to China?
As you said earlier, I mean, we have so many things on our plate now.
Yeah.
To have this lady moving and given timeline for completion.
Okay, for completion, Joey.
And we gotta build a relationship. I mean, that's the start, okay? We're not friends. So the time will only determine whether that relationship will improve or not. And both sides have to really work on it, and both sides have to develop the trust among each other. That's key. And from then on, as that relationship improves, who knows, we can have many joint ventures, even exploring what is under the joint exploration of oil, gas, many things. I mean, if more businessmen come together between China and the Filipinos, you will not have war because we have interlocking interests among each other.
That's good. On that note, thank you very much. I'm still calling you secretary, but thank you very much, Joey Concepcion, George Barcelon. Thank you. Replay of this interview is 3:30 p.m. this afternoon. It's also uploaded on iPod TV. Thank you for watching. Have a good day.